All right, thank you guys so much for the fantastic breakdown. I'm kind of excited because EG, they've had so much success with this composition, Ash, in previous iterations playing on Split, and now we're going to be able to see it again, but actually against a very, very different comp from ADG.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these changes work for the side of ADG. Maybe, honestly, like, Floor is just so comfortable on that Jet. Not that she's, you know, ever a slouch on the Neon either, but expecting the Operator come out at times here as well. I think the Jet is just a little bit more natural feeling in that kind of regard. But it's going to be interesting to see how this ends up panning out for both these squads. I'm super stoked, considering it's our last matchup of the Swiss stage, to find who's going to be taking that final spot in playoffs.
And that's exciting. And it feels like just 2 seconds ago we were on Split, but with a different team, which technically we were.
We're
going to see different play styles though, which is kind of exciting because we got the deadlocks locked in. Right now we have a difference here with a Sky, which is pretty interesting. It does seem like ADG getting their own type of spacing, gonna have to try to recollect something here, but the pistol round important for both of these teams, right? Just seeing where the momentum's gonna go. Obviously, seemingly like it's gonna be very, very hard for the take on to sight with moves wrapping themselves around to the extremities in EG. They've taken out a majority, leaving Vic alone with the frenzy that B-Dog has doing the absolute most. So that flawless first round for EG.
Yeah, and I think that this round was also a really good just demonstration of what we're expecting from EG on the attacking side, just to set the tone for Split in general, right? Because I think most people, if you missed some of their past games, the last 2 games that they played with this deadlock composition, you might look and be like, okay, they're cooking. Defense is going to be really tough to like break through, but it's the post plants that you have to be worried about, because Evil Geniuses Academy, they do not have a problem getting onto that site, making that space. They had so much success starting out on attack versus Alliance Guardians, and looking to very much so repeat that here today.
Absolutely. Seeming like a big victory there for ADG though, off that first pick on moves, and the B site completely cleared out. So you know, just off that rotation alone, looking to make some of that work happen, but it's quite exciting. You know, to kind of see ADG looking for something new with the comp that they're running. Again, it takes time as well to really put this into like a comp perspective where it's not, you're not scrimming, you know, you're in an actual tournament running this now.
Yeah, you have to make those adaptations so quickly, but you also know that Evil Geniuses are going to be very creative with those post-plant setups. Look at how annoying like Darkus is already being. You see those traps in hell for the drops from Rafter there as well. Again, continuous things that we want to kind of shout out, so you guys can keep an eye out for it, because it's what we're expecting from Evil Geniuses. That deadlock utility is such a hindrance to the defenders when they're trying to go for these retakes.
Okay. I mean, again, huge picks coming through from ADG. At the end of the day, that's really all you can do on a save round. But we're now reaching a more even playing field, right? Some Vandals on the board for both sides. EG not really feeling like they're taking the advantage over.
Nah, that's just typical Valorant things, you know? You win the pistol, you win the next round. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. But very least, Outlaw there for B-Dog is going to be potent, still up against 2 players on the side of ADG, with Mikey and Vic having that refresh shield that they get to work into. Only 25 shield health for them. And let's make that 3 players who are now vulnerable to that Outlaw.
They know they've at least done some damage in mid, and you can see them curious as to, you know, was there some repositioning happening here, which it is going to in fact be that Ion trading off spaces here with Sacred.
Enemy killed.
I just find that a little push and pull. Evil Geniuses is feeling out how ADG want to handle these defensive rounds when they have rifles finally in hand. B-Dog is going to go down in mid here. This changes things a little bit. Now, with a minute on the clock, Evil Geniuses, they're going to continue to move at this kind of slower pace because they don't have that dive. The moves lurk was so important to the game plan here on this default. But the presence that Jake is showing on the other side of the map just might be the answer that Evil Geniuses was looking for to find that open A site.
And open it will be, but with the silence there, you know, you're going to have to start to get a little curious. Taking their time. I like this. Stark is kind of proactively placing their utility to make sure that this post plant does not go dry. But there are 5 players here, Ash, and that somewhat concerns me because there's a lot of utility to use for ADG. So this retake, it's not going to be that bad. Just going to have to wait and see. There is some information that we can see come through from Recoil. Hoping that maybe the peak doesn't come out too far-fetched, but it does seem like at least one has been taken out, looking for another and diminishing some of those numbers to allow Darkest to play with this. But the wall is still up, and they do manage to use the ultimate to give themselves more leeway.
No.
And it's unfortunate. The util was perfect, but I guess ADG's approach was even better.
I saw the vision there, but getting a little too lost in the sauce. I feel like pulling out the grab was a little bit greedy there from Darkest, but I respect the heroics in the attempts that he had to try and take that round over the line there for Evil Geniuses. Like, just keep in mind that it was, what was it, like a 2v4 situation here, and they bring it down to a 1v2. A lot of damage done there from EG. ADG, they're still going to be able to muster a bye into this round. Ion just one away from that showstopper.
Smokes are set down a bit too late, and it does leave Fluorescent having to back themselves out and give that space away. And a beautiful paranoia, actually. So they leave both of these players having to fight solo and isolate some of these fights, wait for that rotation to come in. But the information as well is still coming over to the B site with moves proactively searching. And there it goes. Okay, Vic does manage to actually close that one off with this space taken up towards heaven. So, I mean, the real danger is how are EG going to be able to kind of rotate through this, especially with Ion secretly waiting, but it works out.
Dude, and now you have, what? The deadlock barrier, the wall, just completely cutting off Mikey from the rotation. So now Vic is on a complete island on his own. He's still able to get one, but not anything else. ADG 2v3. Post plant set up here. Both flashes still available, though, for Mike.
Didn't see the flashes too much last time. You know, kind of hoping they do come out a bit more. Fluorescent is not even close, though. And timing is of the essence here. So if they're planning on pushing this for Mikey, they gotta go in quick, and they gotta go and sure of themselves. Right now, that flash does come through, trying to gather information for that heaven smoke. I mean, for that heaven flash here coming through. Fluorescent slowly trying to make their way. They know that Mikey's there. Nobody knows what's going on in heaven. Fluorescent is a bit too late to clear the angle. And now they don't even have the time. The defusal can't come through in enough time. Darkest doesn't even know what's going on at this very moment, especially with no noise. So the round win given over to EG, and there's nothing ADG can do.
Another day, another Darkest deadlock post planned. Like, do you see how much respect that ADG has to give that utility? Mikey is trying to get the flashes out for Fluorescent to walk out from heaven, right? But then at the same time, he hears that trip just on the other side of the wall and knows that he can't actually go and assist for a trade. And it just becomes that much more awkward. 3-1 here for Evil Geniuses on their map pick to kick things off. ADG, they go for the aggressive peek into B main. That lack of presence is going to give them the answer they're looking for. See the full rotation for the most part coming through here. Aside from Vic, who's waiting to see if there's a lurk.
Same type of trip we're seeing come through from Darkest, and I'm sure that that's going to be a big read for ADG, especially now with Fluorescent looking for that space in heaven. And there's a lot of players here, Ash, that it's really worrying me on the outskirts. EG don't have any information as to what is going on onto the site. They have to re-clear it, and that's going to be a big problem of its own. No ultimates, barely any utility other than maybe the paranoia that can assist here, and ADG watching heaven, making sure that they can at least keep this defusal down with a body block, but they continue the spray. Is it enough time? Is it enough for Vic to do something with this information? But it's not.
It isn't. I really liked what EG did there. They had an understanding that Ion had that showstopper available. There was a world where they would go for that flood retake, hope that the showstopper would connect with at least one person and make the rest scatter so that ADG could take advantage of the chaos. And EG said, no, we're not going to play on site. Let's fully back off into main. They're not going to expect that. We planted for heaven. They fully take ramps control back as an entire team. Very nicely called up against that eco there from ADG. Operator up here for Fluorescent.
Oh, this is so good. At least one for the taking, and is able to back themselves away from that angle, but not a lot of utility kind of pushed down to stop that aggression coming through from EG. So it doesn't really allow, you know, too much to be played with. ADG, though, doing a really, really good job at trying to reopen things up with Fluorescent, now picking up this Phantom, so they can play more fluidly with the team. This is dangerous.
I'm just trying to buy time for Vic right now. He's on the flank from B main. Nightfall goes out.
Yeah, I like the Nightfall. Vic is not playing around, and neither is Fluorescent. I mean, Fluorescent's been in the scene for a long time, so we know that they're absolutely insane with their aim. I'm not very surprised, to be honest, that they can take these 1v1s very, very fluently.
Yeah, it's definitely the return of her, that is for certain, but a big round for ADG to pick up here as well. Operator gets picked back up to carry over, and a much needed round win for ADG to just stop that bleeding. It starts with this operator shot on Jake. No smokes made the retake that much more comfortable there for the side of ADG with no cover to provide for those choke points. It's just a very quick flood situation with the backstabbing coming from Vic. Now it's about stabilizing. Sure, they're starting to claw themselves back into this game, but ADG, they also want to be chaining rounds together here on the defense. Especially, I think, when this is the side they've historically been better on.
Yeah, definitely for ADG. It's taken a bit of time, you know, but I think it's quite difficult, especially with the changes made. Although they're finding that pacing. They've done some transitions. We're seeing Floor a little more proactively on B. You know, and some of that space not being given over too lightly here on mid.
This time around, Sacred going for the contact play, trying to bait Brian.
Yeah, moving in, looking for some sort of fight in mid. Of course, there's two players watching, and the Spike is sitting just behind, waiting for everybody to make that sort of impact. But Darkest is good. They've managed to take out Ion, and that's going to be a huge addition here for EG to try to make their way up towards mid. But I like this. The space has been taken up. It's going to have to be something for ADG to really contemplate on.
I mean, it gets a little bit awkward here, though, because if there's any sort of stop to this push on A, it's going to change the pace.
Kill confirmed.
Yeah, now it's up to the A site. I do see a lot of proactivity coming through from Mikey, of course, trying to keep the site under wraps, but ADG, they're having a bit of trouble when it comes to kind of stopping that very, very aggressive play going back over towards the A site. Wasn't necessarily expecting, you know, that movement to come through, especially with the majority of fights won out in mid. All in all, though, you know, Sacred very, very low, could potentially just be looking to save this. Everyone is hunting, though, for this player and is not looking to let it go.
Nah, definitely not. I mean, they have some of that cash to spare. You're trying to cycle back into a couple of those ultimates there as well. You mind as well. Big annihilation to open things up there for Evil Genius's Academy coming up from Darkest. And overall, I think we've talked about how quickly, you know, this team is going to need to adapt in this series, especially, you know, running a bit of a slightly altered composition on the side of ADG. But the other thing, too, is it is not often that you go up a composition like Evil Geniuses on split in this current meta. And I think that's the other thing is you can go back, you can go look at the VODs, you can have an understanding of how EG want to play it, but actually facing it head on in the server is such a different experience at times. And depending on how they're playing on the day, it's not necessarily going to be running the exact same protocols either.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of utility, I think, with the deadlock that really changes, again, the pacing here for ADG, how proactive Darkus is also being with that utility as well to set up Evil Genius Academy for success in those fights, whether it's setting himself up or finding an opportunity for B-Dog to look to dash in on somebody who's been hit by the grab net, or throwing the wall down to cut off those rotations. It's just making maneuvering the map, I think, really uncomfortable here for ADG, and also makes it a little hard, I think, for them to feel like they want to be proactive at times, because you know what, you might peek through a main, Darkus is ready, grabnet on the other side, you might just get caught out. It just becomes really awkward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just in general, especially if you know how to play with your util, which I do believe Darkus is doing pretty well in regards to like having the post plant and putting their sonic sensors down to make sure if somebody does swing and tries to play that, it makes it a bit harder. So I am liking what I'm seeing.
Bit of a slower approach this time around. The ADG, they want to go search for that info. B-Dog's just waiting here with the blades. 3 players that he's faced up against, and he gets out.
Yeah, brutal for Mikey to go down that way. Especially with, I mean, worst case scenario, I think Mikey staying alive would have been good for that ultimate. But unfortunate, things go the way they do. EG now looking for B-Dog to kind of make some space happen, open up over towards the B side. Jake is great with their paranoia to really keep things clear. So up to 2 more players. ADG is struggling a lot with retaking and just keeping these sites.
And again, like trying to retake up against a deadlock post plant paired with, you know, Moves, who usually has a snake bite online into the post too. It's just so difficult, especially when you have a lot of these trips placed for those drop positions that you can't necessarily clear out, especially when that nade for Ion is being utilized early into the round for the earlier fights, right? And not being saved for those post plants to try and break up that utility. And it's another round, Gompers, where you look at the mini map, and again, both of those trips completely undisrupted there by ADG.
Just that opening in general there coming through from B-Dog was a lot to take in. It's the timing really for this team. I think EG is really just playing into the information they're given. They know that ADG get impatient from time to time. Kind of like it.
And forcing their opponent into a bit more of an uncomfortable position where they feel that need to find the information. Again, those quick scopes for Floor are always so clean to take recoil out of the picture.
Oh yeah, exactly what we need to see in the opening rounds, taking that first pick. And listen, recoil's down, so they had to go into sight, barely any information given. They can't play the post plant with anything other than maybe Jakey watching Heaven in the extremities, getting these picks in. And you can see they're actively having to isolate these fights now. They do have some smokes left over here for Vic. Actually, apologies, in 9 seconds they're gonna have a smoke that they can maybe cut out some of these corners with, but they're working themselves up. They know at least one's sitting behind signs, but EG, they're playing an impossible game to get by. The Viper's pit is down for Moves, and Fluorescent having the op is pretty much a go say for keeping it.
And I think that this is something for Evil Geniuses. Maybe there were questions previously after seeing that Alliance Guardians game of whether or not, you know, this kind of success was going to be replicatable, right? As far as being able to break into these sites and actually get that plant down so that the post plant can be as potent as we know that it is. And they're so consistent with it. The highlight between B-Dog and Fluorescent, granted, we haven't seen that many firefights between the 2 of them, but I feel like B-Dog today has been a little bit more explosive in the early rounds. A lot of the time, we tend to see him kind of slowly working, you know, a pick before actually like going in full diving onto that site. But the synergy is here. Like, him and Recoil are in sync when it comes down to those dash into the Cloudburst plays, following up the Haunt to clear out that space, and it's all working out very nicely here for EG.
Yeah, they've practiced this They're obviously showing a lot
Watching here.
of improvement with their own timings, but yeah, Fluorescent. They're a little more aware of Fluorescent's proactivity and trying to get those first picks. So I do like the early engagements with some of this util. Slowly working themselves up. That smoke goes up. They know that there's going to be a majority waiting right behind it, but this is huge. ADG, they throw the paint shells. They get a big majority of damage, and those sprays do pressure them back.
Yeah, the shot over the box, I think. Pretty sure that's just B-Dog jump spotting there. He absolutely gets his head taken off.
Yeah.
But look at Moobs right now. He's walked through the entirety of the A site. And it gets kind of weird because they saw ramps in heaven control. And it's all about the timing. Jake's trying to wait for Moobs to be close enough so they could take this fight together.
30 seconds
Okay,
left.
this is huge. And I do like the silence in it. They know exactly where Iron is going to be. Unfortunately, though, not enough time. So Iron does get that third pick and diminishes those numbers just a bit. But the 3v2 ADG having the numbers advantage, you'd think to yourself, you know, hey, this is a bit more winnable, especially now with Vic having a big moment here. That smoke hasn't necessarily diminished just yet, but in time, Fluorescent does work themselves around the back, and the defense is looking even better. And even better, they will look for, I mean, at least that 3 to 7 to come through.
Oh, a much needed round again, but still ADG, the real test is going to be able to chain these rounds together. Slowly working back into this defensive half. A couple rounds left to work with here. Taking a look at that ultimate economy. You do have Viper's Pit available for Sacred. Not really anything on the side of EG, aside from maybe a Nightfall that could come online into this round. Though, because a lot of this defense for ADG has been kind of reliant on either Floor finding those earlier picks,
Yep.
or in the last one, the heroics from Ion and his showstopper.
Yeah, heavily relying on like these really star moments from these players, which is a problem. And man, that this instantly, like this Viper's pit goes down, so it becomes harder. Fluorescent is there to follow up, luckily enough, so we do get another one here. So it's going to be that 3v4 that gives ADG something to work with. They have the information. They know that they're at least within mid, possibly slowly working themselves up towards A in the back off. They're a little unsure of themselves.
Where are you?
Mid splits here have been successful for EG in the past. No ramps control for ADG this time around, but a lot of presence shown makes EG feel a little uncomfortable from taking that heaven control.
Fluorescent is not uncomfortable. Fluorescent's actually very comfortable right now, which is nice to see, especially in the midst of all this chaos. So it's difficult. They know the op is hiding somewhere. They haven't cleared A site, so there is a bit unsurety there for EG. Luckily enough,
30
Jakey is going to try to make sure that they have some sort of backup. This is hard. You got a Paranoia still readily available from Vic. 2 smokes, a flash from Mikey, you know, 2 blast packs, right? This is worst case scenario coming through from EG. They really have to play together here if they want something to happen. And there it goes. All right, the Paranoias followed through. The smokes are set down. They're trying to close out these angles. And Jakey's the last one alive. Can they make it work? And they tried it, but it didn't.
Not able to make it happen, but a perfect Paranoia that you shouted out from Vic to find that success. The timing from Recoil C's was great as well for slowing that down. But ADG now in these rounds, they're finding themselves with those earlier numbers advantages before that post plant comes to fruition. When these rounds where Darkness's deadlock utility is no longer like a factor in the post plan, are the ones where ADG are finding that comfort, finding that success into these retakes.
Definitely been improving upon that too. It's just same mid thing again. You know, so much presence here. I do like the holds we are seeing though. I think even though Sacred occasionally does miss out on or lose out on these fights, they are still always at least picking one off or really holding back this push.
adjustment. You talked about how they're looking to clear out those angles earlier on. Floor's playing all the way back now.
Oh, and this is not good. They're gonna know where Floor is. At this point, all Floor can do really is just, yeah, either dash themselves away or try to get the one. The one might have been better, unfortunately, as they do go down. But EG, they are on the site, and they are not letting it go, with Darkest taking in a 3K and making sure this team is not gonna see the light of day. With Mikey, the only one left alive. So actually, I spoke way too soon. Mikey is no longer alive. I lied.
And that's okay. Annihilation, 8-4-1/2. We're resetting here for ADG, right?
Yeah.
Heading into the attacking side,
Switching
it's
sides.
side where they've been relatively successful on. I think, again, we did see a lot more of that success on defense. That's where they've been able to come back in some of these maps on split here as well, but Evil Geniuses now, they've had quite a successful initial half. I think I respect the adjustments that ADG were able to make. Now I'm curious to see how they're going to look to problem solve up against this very, honestly, annoying composition here to go up against on the attack. A lot of pressure, I think, on Ion for those nades to find their mark, to take down the trips there from Darkest.
All right, here it goes. Now we've switched the sides. Again, mid control being a very, very big thing on a map like Split, but it does seem like first fight won out by Ion in rotation. I mean, a reposition that happens out from moves, which is good. At least getting some information and ground there. But unfortunately so. Yeah, doesn't work out for ADG. They do lose out on their own set of smokes here over towards the A site.
Though might not necessarily be ready for the repush from all four players of ADG, with knowing that Sacred is that lurking presence.
Marcus does actually, yeah, I was gonna say, still has a lot of their util there, but they're not able to play it. The push comes out way too hard, way too proactively, and now the aggression from Fluorescent trying to get themselves in the smoke, it works out for them. So all they have to do is hold the site. They lost out on some of that util that could potentially have been placed by Darkest. Now they're just gonna have to play with what they have, which is themselves and that paranoia from Jakey.
Here.
Paranoia, though, has a great line for backside.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh no, but they wait too long. They know where at least some of these players are, but Fluorescent and Ion peeking off each other, playing the contact game.
Yeah, a bit too hesitant there from Evil Geniuses on that retake. You mentioned it, waiting a little too long after the paranoia has subsided, when they could have taken that opportunity to isolate Floor. Granted, it's not like EG knew that all of those players were on site, and maybe we're hoping for someone else to kind of pop out as to swing off of it and try to buy a bit of that time, but then it didn't happen, and then the moment passes. But a huge pistol round here for ADG to pick up to set themselves up for a bit of that earlier success here on the attack.
Just one peek. Okay, beautiful. A second one given away. A potential third. Sacred is fighting for their life. I mean, either way, yeah, EG are in a pretty decent spot. I'm not too worried. I mean, their gameplay so far has been pretty good. Missing out on the pistol rounds isn't too much of a concern of theirs. But for EG, it's kind of the same case scenario, right? Like, we're really fighting to the death to see if we can continue our stride, not really get eliminated out of this bracket. So even though these mistakes are happening this early on, they cannot continue. So they're going to take their leave.
JP wants to do as much damage as he possibly can. I mean, it's still technically a very winnable round for him. The high-low, though, going to be too much to deal with. And it's going to be a solid ADG recovery into this. Losing a couple weapons in the process of it, as EG continue to keep it a little bit closer. But overall, when you look at their buy that they're able to muster together, they're more than happy, especially with Ion being 2 away from that showstopper. Definitely a world where we see that come to fruition into the post plant for certain if he's alive, and even if not, a world where it could come come up before that spike is even planted and open things up here for ADG to steal a bonus round away.
It's interesting because the boombot was thrown pretty early over towards B, but now this movement up in mid, Moves is catching out on Fluorescent. Now they're actually getting a ton of util thrown at them. But this could be bad, right? They've expended so much at this point when they're trying to get some ground over towards A. They're just gonna have to fight this firepower game. But even then, Paranoia is making it really, really hard to see what they can do up towards Heaven. This is good off EG, right? They're playing patiently, waiting to get at least one round on the board on this half in particular. But, you know, ADG, they're proactively looking and playing very, very safe with the spike just settling down with them. Ion unfortunately goes down, and the spike is still theirs here for EG.
Dude, that got so scary.
Yeah.
Like, you had half the team on ADG just sitting inside vents, and I'm watching 4 players walk over to A Heaven just holding that smoke. This is such an important fight for Darkest to be able to win up against Sacred. But Jakey gonna close that door there for ADG. Get that 9th round on the board here for Evil Geniuses Academy. Things got weird.
Yeah.
But again, look at how much respect. They didn't even try shooting the deadlock wall. They just walked into vents, sat inside of it, got stalled out by the molly coming in there from Moves. And it's just things like that where you have to keep in mind that you got to break that wall. It does, like, that barrier mesh has got to go down. You have to have like some opportunity to leave those options open for rotation, even if you don't want to rotate. Just apply a little bit more of that pressure on other areas of the map to threaten EG's defense.
Yeah. Still going up in mid. This time there's not too much attention there, which is interesting.
Timing here. That barrier mesh is constantly so good from Darkest. Like, ADG just trying to play contact play. He doesn't throw it off at the on rip at the beginning of the round, knowing that ADG are trying to poke around the map, see where the setup is sitting. And Floor.
Oh, wow. Okay, B-Dog is lucky. So beyond lucky, but also crazy that Ion couldn't take a rip off of that showstopper, which is insane. Now they're, I guess they're just moving around in mid, which is interesting because they were mid previously, kind of like migrating back over. Not a lot of information over towards B, especially with that first-hand loss, but 14 seconds left. B-Dog has now taken out Sacred, but B site is pretty heavily contested.
Yeah, they have the entirety of site, but honestly not that much to work with into the post plant. Waiting on a smoke refresh here from Vic, but no flashes available. Fully relying on these crossfires, on these contact plays here for ADG. But for Evil Geniuses Academy, they also don't have much to work with either.
No, there's not much. I mean, what can you do other than Fluorescent's really just trying to clear out the back of sight? Yeah, but Jakey's like, all right. Like, I feel like at that point there isn't much you can do other than save, right? You've lost out on the only other person who could help you.
No util, time is ticking, like really nothing that you can do there for Jakey, but ADG, they continue to find success here on the attacking side, and right now these deadlock setups not proving to be nearly as troublesome as you would expect at first. And I think the ability for ADG to be calling these plays where Mikey wants them to poke into B main, get a little bit of that information, apply a little bit of that pressure, then work back over towards mid, again trying to just draw out that deadlock utility early enough into a round. But a shoulder peek there from Jakey. Unbeknownst to him, Floor is on the other side.
There hasn't been, and I'm assuming it's because there's so much pressure coming through from Darkus. They know Darkus has their ultimate, that there's not a lot of attraction to pushing onto site. It's just always hitting mid, like always finding mid, trying to find these picks, which becomes way too slow at a point.
This tough, Darkus. Starting the barrel with this Guardian gonna peek through. And a nice attempt to stall, but he's gonna be spammed out past the smoke. Playing a little bit too forward, a bit greedy there.
Yeah, greedy. I guess actually a great way to really describe how they're playing here for EG especially too. I do feel like ADG a bit more on the quiet side, but then disruptive, you know, once the rounds have reached half point. It's getting difficult. Like, I mean, the retakes, not the retakes, the holds for ADG haven't necessarily been the best as we've seen. It's been struggling quite a bit. So in all reality, right, these crossholds, they need to work sacred peeking when they shouldn't be, and just looking for something. But all in all, like, there's 3 players left on site who are struggling to try to play together at this point. A wraparound that might be able to help, but that's the beauty of it. I guess the timing really is the name of the game here for ADG.
Yeah, it is. And I think just, again, making it a bit uncomfortable here for Evil Geniuses. The setups have been interesting. I feel like we've seen quite a variety from Darkus being on the B site, Darkus being on A, Darkus focusing a little bit more on mid, while maybe his trips are elsewhere. The problem with, I think, why Darkus felt the need to play so forward on that A side was because he didn't have any support from the rest of the team, right? You just have those trips. Otherwise, was looking for a bit of that early info. Can't fully play like completely anchored on site because there's a concern of, okay, what if they get that timing, they walk past the trip, they walk up on you.
Yeah.
And it was just an awkward, I think, defensive round that we just saw from Evil Geniuses, where the map control wasn't quite what they wanted or needed for the kind of setup that they were looking at. But ever since swapping sides, Gompers, ADG, they look so much more comfortable dealing, I think, with these setups. And we've seen a lot of that success from Ion, either breaking up, you know, that deadlock utility there, or honestly, the team just finding an opportunity to either pick Darkest apart or find another hole there in mid.
Darkest has posed the biggest threat, I will say. Very hard for ADG. It's super difficult because it does seem like they're really just trying to get a read on where Darkest might be, how they can execute off of that. Not a lot of util though, luckily enough in this round, so I do feel like ADG, they're put in a better position than they were last time. Yeah, and already off the rip, just taking out majority of these players up in heaven. At least looking for it too, because now they've backed off. Wait, there was no read. Actually, moves just got scot-free away from the boom bot. I don't know what's going on with these sensors here. We've seen this so many times happen, but it's okay. At least some information. They know where everybody is. They're able to take out Jakey here. I mean, yeah, the trade-off definitely coming through.
Able to find the one. That's all up to B-Dog and moves. And Floors, again, going for that re-wrap over at ramps.
One enemy remaining.
And not even needed to close the round out there. 9-9, ADG managed to tie things up after an 8-4 half in favor for Evil Geniuses. EG, they are cycling into quite a few ultimates though, so this next round is honestly so important for them if they don't want ADG to find the advantage, especially when you're looking at how much ADG have invested in the last couple of rounds as well. I think they did a great job with their ultimate economy cycling to ensure that they could play for those win conditions.
Get out of my way.
A big takes up in mid again. Kind of like a repetition we've seen, but I'm curious as to how EG are going to respond to this. Doesn't seem like they're going to respond at all. Just let him take the space here. And moves. Now backing themselves up. ADG, the flash, but Mikey almost did not get away scratch-free. That's super unfortunate. for EG to be playing in a position like that one, but it really is up to at least 3 players now. But I do think the player advantage is big. The only unfortunate part is Fluorescent has been absolutely destroying with the angles, with the timing, and B-Dog just completely proved me wrong. And now finally, like a turnaround for EG. A huge clutch potential, but it's still Ash. It's way too close. We're losing way too many players way too early on.
Yeah, it's still not comfortable right now on defense for EG when it comes down to these round wins that we've seen from them. And it relied on 2 ultimates being expended into that round here from Evil Geniuses as well, that Nightfall, as well as the Annihilation and the knives on top of that. Very expensive. Granted, a good investment because they're able to pick it up, but ADG now the ones to call their last time out of regulation. You do have a Viper's Pit here for Evil Geniuses. Moobs might look to just pop that out in mid, as it's an avenue that ADG have been quite successful with after showing those initial looks either in B main or over at A main. The repush into mid has, for the most part, I think almost yielded them around like every single time, and a pick to be able to open up those opportunities for them.
Yeah, mid has been looking pretty attractive for ADG. I do like the addition of the op that we're seeing here from B-Dog again. I don't know if it's too crazy for me, because ADG have been like really exploding onto site when they feel like they're ready for it. Kind of hoping we can play a little more outward to get that first pick, because that's kind of what we're missing here. ADG are always finding that first engagement.
Yeah, the ability to just open up the rounds, waiting for Evil Geniuses to overspend a little bit if needed, and it's just completely denied. ADG were expecting this to happen though, right? That's why you have them leaning over towards that B side of the map. I think some presence was shown in the form of a flash, if my ears did not deceive me. No, it did not actually. My ears did deceive me. I'm like looking over on the left-hand side now, and I'm like, no, Mikey has both of his flashes, girl. What are you talking about? Regardless, though, there's something had to have happened to pull all of that attention over towards the B side, right? And just allow B-Dog to play solo posted up with that operator on A.
Oh gosh. They're re-rotating with Spike. the lack of information, I do think, is kind of overwhelming for ADG. They did dog onto A, and I'm sure they got that information from B-Dog, kind of destroying that. So not wanting to reach over too much to that side, instead feeling like maybe B's the play. But I like this because the op has actually forced them to go to where Darkest is. And Darkest is in a position where they can actually play with their own set of utilities. So the lockdown happens. Jakey's kind of playing with this to make sure Fluorescent goes down. And the information down towards backside is given away. But EG, they're getting pretty good shots coming through here on that entry. And they completely destroyed them on that choke point. So the spike is down. It leaves Sacred in a really tough spot. And, you know, EG, it does feel like now we're seeing a bit more momentum kind of pick up.
We definitely are, but I still have my hesitations, right? Yeah. It's the fact that they win this round, honestly, off the Viper's Pit in a way. That's not to discredit, you know, the shots being fired, the other utility that was being used, but ADG had to really change their game plan with that pit being in mid. They didn't even bother with that area of the map. I think they tried to apply a very similar pressure by rotating over at A, getting that insert into ramps, but it still wasn't quite enough. And the amount of time it took gave Evil Geniuses that read and understanding for Darkest to make the call to have the rotations pulled back. But look how aggressive he's getting. Now this round, Darkest is walking out B main while this mid presence is being shown once again by ADG.
They've been mostly playing for Heaven at this point, which I think is smarter. Just too much to really focus on with 2 duelists trying to push up mid. Of course, I mean, two forms of dogs, I guess you can say, looking for information here.
It's just weird now because you also have these A players who run a little bit of an island on ramps. Jakey and B-Dog playing together, but they're about to get crunched from mid and the lurk in A, but it's a bit of a bait just to pull that attention over.
Yeah, Recoil isn't playing with Moves anymore. So Moves is alone in heaven. Best thing they can do is really just be patient, see if they could take a couple picks off, because the moment they drop down, I mean, they could recollect themselves, but they have so much space right now, especially with like the util still settled down on the B site. Doesn't matter. They're actually gonna push this rotation over towards the other side of site, so they don't even care about B. They're just making a lot of noise. But this is bad. They've waited so long that they're actually giving EG a reason to really peak these fights and make sure that they don't get this plant down. And all they need to do is peek heaven. They've taken out Vic. They need to try to make their way over towards the back of site. Dark is hitting their utility, and Mikey's pushing for something with the util. And it's unfortunate Sacred waiting to try to get past Moves, but Moves is proactively stopping them from peaking the angle. And it allows that match point to come through from EG.
And not even planted for main either. That snake bite that Moves had thrown down won that round into the retake, keeping Sacred completely separate from that post-plant play. Really nicely done here. EG coming back into this second half where it looked like ADG were fully in command in that driver's seat. 5-1 once they were on the attacking side. Evil Geniuses. Really good adjustments that you shouted out over in B Heaven, just trying to play a little bit more in a comfortable area where they could trade off of each other.
This is so interesting. Oh. It's like, it's so different because we have not pushed up mid yet. And this is the way we decide to do it.
It's one of those things where I think you kind of go, do they necessarily expect it? Who's just trying to catch somebody off guard, trying to break that wall, but no one's going to take a visit.
Oh,
What?
and the ult is gone. Whoa. Darkest? Got some pretty good damage there, actually. One more spray through the wall, and that might be the life of Sacred. Yup, and it's over and done with. So very, very good shots taking out the Viper. So the A site, definitely not the site to hit. And huge off Ion to try to move themselves over towards the backside to clear things. And I mean, the showstopper was supposed to be that extra insurance, but it didn't do anything in the amount of time that it should have. Unfortunately, Fake is left alone, and the spike isn't even there next to them. They have to fight for that space.
They definitely do. It's going to be so hard to do so, though. Even though the paranoia is available, there's just too many angles for Vic to look to clear. The paranoia will be utilized just to get that spike in hand. There is a smoke for him to plant in if he so desires.
10 seconds
B-Dog's
left.
just going to walk up behind him.
Oh no, and they don't know. Vic is in such a tough spot because the moment they try for that plant, yep, it's completely over. Guns thrown, and actually guns blazing. EG. All right, this could be the potential last map, Ash, for Evil Geniuses, or we could see ADG really pull through. This is their map pick, as a reminder for you guys, for Azure Dragon Gaming. So theoretically, this should be a pretty comfortable game for ADG.
It should be, in theory. I think I think what I'm interested in is the fact that this map pick for ADG, Evil Geniuses, they pick into the attacking side knowing how good the defense has been from ADG, but it also does rely on, you know, some of that aggression that you're going to expect to come through from Ion, from Floor, trying to get some of those deep lines, look for that contention. You know, the retakes were working out really nicely for ADG as well. So that kind of tells me that Evil Geniuses Academy, they must have been cooking something in the background to feel like they are more confident on this attacking side. Maybe it is an opportunity to try and build some momentum for themselves, but I'm really thinking more towards them trying to anti-strat some of these defensive-sided plays here from ADG, where they look to get a little bit more aggressive, and it seems like EG probably feel confident in taking those fights.
Yeah, I'd say they do too, especially with, I mean, mechanic-wise, I do feel like they do tend to win out a lot of their 1v1 fights. I mean, coming through here, obviously not, guys. I don't know what's going on, but B-Dog's struggling. EG, they are looking to try to redeem themselves. Recoil does have a shock dart to really use, but the timing here might actually work out in favor, right? You do see moves slowly working themselves around to the B site. The wraparound and spawn is going to happen.
Yeah, the problem is, Will Recoil be able to group up safely? And with the pace that ADG are taking it at, the slow crawl and the walk on over, it absolutely will. You got to plant for stairs here as well, so very open. Allows moves to play that more aggressive angle initially here. Looking into CT.
Ooh. That was detrimental. I'm not gonna lie. If moves had gotten that pick, it would have made things a lot smoother. Especially with Mikey being so low. Just a body shot was really all they needed. They do have a slow just waiting down lane though, so is it going to be too much of an issue? Yup, posing a very big threat. Mikey just completely just denies everything, which is insane. If Mikey had gone down originally with that pick, this could have gone a very different way.
Yeah, it really could have. And now off the back of a pistol round, what, 4 points into a Hunter's Fury? That is huge early ult economy here for ADG. Man, what a way to bring that round back here for Azure Dragon Gaming. Now, Evil Geniuses, again, they opt to stay outside of V main, looking to play that deathball kind of approach. ADG, they're gonna have Outlaw here for floor. Can't imagine that anyone's gonna want to peek over at tiles. We're gonna be honest.
Oh, okay, no, that's bad. B-Dog does have a bit of time to kind of take that one away. But running off a loss for ADG, this is feeling pretty good, I will say. You know, kind of looking like the first 2 rounds are working in favor. The momentum's starting to pick up a bit. You know, it's really all you can go off of to make sure that your mentality is kind of working out further on in the rounds.
Like he's 2 away from the Hunter's Fury at this point with these picks that came through. Like, you really couldn't ask for more here for the side of ADG for what they wanted into that anti-eco.
Right here.
The Genius Academy, though, now with a buy in hand, things shift a little bit. Looking at more of that mid-focused default play. Constantly the same lineup to put that pressure here on B main thanks to Moobs and his lurk. While the rest of the team looks at Group A.
Here.
Oh, the smoke is so dangerous because now that it's gone and the information was given away, they actually don't even know that Jakey's there. They're not going to check the top side, waiting on that moment. And knowing that Vic was there previously, because you did hear the TP. So it's just going to see if they can catch something else out of that. Unfortunately not, but do know that if they handle tree, they have the information as to who is where. They've caught out the rotation. They're coming through from Ion as well.
Really nicely done here. EG, again, just waiting for those opportunities. It's basically just like Emily kind of called, right? Having that understanding that Evil Geniuses want to wait on those timings where ADG is trying to regroup together when they're looking for those rotation shifts. And catching them out perfectly in that kind of regard. Here, a flawless round for the anti-eco of Evil Geniuses against that flawless bonus that had come in previously from ADG. Now, though, that operator is online here for Fluorescent. You've got the Odin for Mikey as well. This is where things change a little bit, Gompers, with how this approach has to look.
Yeah. Yeah, it's concerning. I mean, they kind of controlled the map there, to be honest. It didn't feel like ADG stood a chance with the positioning.
Right here.
Start just to reveal if anyone had crossed over to the side or was taking an off angle here. A bit more aggressive into B main. And Evil Geniuses, they're kind of waiting for that aggression that you expect from this composition, from ADG, right? The double duelist, looking to open prod, take those deeper lines. But ADG, they've done a good job in adjusting in response to understanding the expectation from Evil Geniuses, right? Like, there are times where Floor will go for some of those more aggressive deep line peaks, but in this round, playing a little bit safer, anticipating that Evil Geniuses are waiting for her to overpeak to try and take control of one of those lanes.
$30 seconds. Waiting for that 30-second mark, potentially waiting for the rotation from B-Dog, and this is where it gets dangerous because there are 3 players on the A site. Yes, they've smoked off, but they know all they need to do is hold this, right? In all reality, I mean, ADG, if they hold this, they will be able to try to stop that plant from coming down, but everyone has been down. There was an unfortunate player advantage there for ADG, but they did lose out on that one. Now it leaves only Mikey left alive to try to play with the Odin, and the whiffs unfortunately come through, so it's gonna be that 3K that B-Dog allows EG to take that 2-2.
A nice timing there on the attack from Evil Geniuses Academy. ADG, again, they're kind of being information starved, you know, in the mid rounds right now. In the early to mid rounds, you get the same conditioned 0 point over in B main that they've been doing since Pistol. Moobs lurking on that side of the map. You get the dark cover over at bottom arches for mid there, and just default contact plays across the rest of the map, making it really uncomfortable for ADG. That's kind of what they talked about previously on the desk too.
Oh, I did like that. Okay, Ion. I mean, listen, you do what you got to do. You try your best to kind of recover the round with the economy that you're given.
But
I don't even know.
No.
Oh, this crosshold is so solid.
I'm gonna need Vic to not. Dude, that timing.
Here.
Oh, this is important. See if Vic sees this. I'm pretty sure Moves is kind of understanding of the situation. Like, one person that they see, they're going to have to expect the other to really come full swing. I think that's where the worry resides, though Vic is just not letting them win the fight.
That's a huge thrifty round. Like, the first time we're really seeing that aggression out from ADG, even though Evil Geniuses had been playing a little bit slower, they still weren't 100% prepared for that. Granted, that was a massive paranoia coming out from Vic. Like, the only reason why that play ends up working out for Ion and dashing forward and floor, it is because of the paranoia. Just completely denying that lane, and Darkus could not do enough in that moment to react as quickly as would have been needed.
Get out of my way.
Oh gosh, Fluorescent is in such a bad spot. And they still do have that dash, which the smoke kind of allows them to back themselves away, but Sacred is playing within their own smoke, and Fluorescent goes down with B-Dog working over towards the extremities now. So, I mean, obviously posing a very, very big threat. They've taken out the threat of Fluorescent and Sacred holding down the B site. Now just working towards the extremities with the ultimate that allows Recoil to play alongside B-Dog for the refrag. And nobody knows. Oh my gosh, I thought JK was actually going to just continue to... I think it would have worked out if they really just kept it.
It would have been too high risk, though, leaving it Recoil on site by himself. I respect why he didn't go for it. I think it's also just to buy a little bit of time so ADG don't feel as confident going back and pushing back into the site here on the retake.
Hopefully not. I think the Odin is a little bit scary here for EG to peek this, but Jakey's ready to make sure that they can maybe get a spray down, but the peek is perfect. The timing is great here for EG.
Yeah, really nice communication there for Evil Geniuses Academy into the post plant to ensure that those trades happen as needed. This is crazy, though. Honestly, I gotta give a lot of respect to B-Dog for saving this round here for Evil Geniuses Academy, because things were falling apart a little bit. Sacred being in that smoke, being able to get those picks. You got a couple people falling as they were making the entry onto site, and B-Dog being able to get the trades that were necessary, really bring it back into EG's favor. Now, ADG, eco round. Last time we saw them having to save, they did get aggro. Not going to be the same kind of look as last time, but it will be a stack here at B main.
Oh gosh, so much information. Yeah, the stack worked out last time, so kind of just assuming that it might work out again. Information is being given away by Jakey, so not Jakey, apologies, Vic.
at the drone here. Drawing the attention of the entire rotation, right? You do have, obviously, the main trip and the camera to keep an eye on. Feels like evil geniuses are just trying to toy with the minds of ADG a little bit while Moobs makes his presence known here towards the B side.
Oh gosh, there's so much mid presence coming through from Darkest, so
You're just doing a really good job of I wouldn't say selling this
30
fake
seconds left.
necessarily. It will be a full rotation here over towards the B side. It does actually end up being a total fake with B-Dog going in over on that A side of the map. But I think there was such a good understanding from Evil Geniuses that ADG would still just assume that
10
Moobs was
seconds
trying to
left.
play distraction.
yeah. Yeah, I do agree. I think the push onto site definitely allowed them to have a bit more time to kind of wait for the retake to come through. Now, though, the angle has been closed off by Darkest, which is in fact making it harder for ADG because the pressure has been set on by Jakey to make it almost seem like, you know, there is potential for someone to be coming around the back. So it gives that feeling to Fluorescent that they have to be a little bit more hyper aware of their surroundings. But with 2 kunais left, it becomes almost difficult to get themselves onto the site, finally refreshing it. But Moves is ready.
Yeah, shutting that down here, Evil Geniuses Academy. Hefty enough investment into that round. I think that something else that Dust shouted out was just how disciplined Evil Geniuses Academy have been. And it's not just discipline, they're showing a lot of respect for ADG as well. Like, it was a bit of a scuffed buy that ADG had going into that round. Fluorescent had to pop knives. They managed to pick up a couple rifles there as well. But really trying to get every round advantage as possible, not looking to hold on to that
You
KO
want to
ultimate,
play? Let's play.
just so they could ensure that they secure the bag. That drone will... Okay, now has spotted out 4. She will have to back off. That means it's free real estate for Moves to take.
Yeah, off that noise. Oh, I love this. The flash to make Fluorescence stay over towards tree.
Not just that, look how good the conditioning's been with that B main presence. They're playing so far back on B, not even contesting main, because they believe that Moves is likely there, holding with the operator.
Do you like to catch out this rotation too? I'm assuming someone might stay mid to make sure nothing goes wrong. Potentially not. Again, they're split up in this moment, but they don't know that there's still a lot of util heavily placed towards B. So this is where the issue starts, right? Once they try to get themselves on, they're going to get completely tagged out with the Odin now waiting and watching Sacred, not knowing what to do, as there has been a big movement over towards the B side. So for EG right now, you know, they've done the hardest part.
4v3 ADG at a disadvantage heading into this retake. There is the convergent path, though, for Ion to rip into this round. Fluorescent, though, has an operator in hand, and considering the money situation on the side of ADG, they're going to opt for the save, not look to risk it, ensure that they can carry these weapons over, just prioritize that going into the next one. But really nicely done there by Evil Geniuses. Taking a bit of a different look into that round, thanks to the conditioning that they had done previously. Great calls there coming out from Darkest.
Darkest themselves have said that they always believe they can do it. There's never a doubt in their mind. So I like the ego. I like the confidence. You can obviously see it in EG. You know, the confidence behind the IG yelling as well.
I got things to do.
But looking good so far. I mean, it's pretty enjoyable. I think the KO in general is making it really hard for ADG to respond as well.
I do think that that's also part of why we're not seeing as much aggression out from ADG, because with Darkest, that KO knife that he's constantly throwing over at B main, like whether it's Ion or Floor who wants to get aggro and use the tailwind or the refract to try and get out, Darkest is going to be there. That 0 point is putting so much pressure on those pieces of utility for the duelists, where they can't get as aggro unless they're going for one of those set plays that we saw on that eco round in round 5 where they're actually able to take it away. So ADG now, it's back to the drawing board for them. It might be a 3-5 scoreline, Gompers, but really it feels more like a 5-1 because 2 of those rounds were the pistol and the anti-eco. And since weapons have come out for both sides, Evil Geniuses has been on top the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, EG, it doesn't feel like there's much of a struggle. I mean, we could see that with the 10-5 B-Dog is pulling out. they're definitely working with the team. And it's been a lot easier because the double initiator setup, I think, is more comfortable. So, yeah, it's obviously looking very, very promising on the attacking half for EG.
And I think using that conditioning bit to their advantage, they're stacking outside of B, continuing to set up this narrative that moves that lurking presence around the other side of the map from the rest of the team, who's usually more focused in mid.
Cage triggered.
Yeah, that bottom arches smoke that goes on too, the same kind of conditioning for what we see into some of those tree presence splits there at A. Said it's gonna be all 5 players here waiting in B main. But look at the trips. They're perfectly poised here for a B-Dog's entry.
Oh gosh, yeah. B-Dog's already also hyper aware of where the util has been set up, so there isn't too much concern surrounding it. I mean, at this point now looking for the op play here, Fluorescent does manage to get one, and this is going to be good for ADG, especially now just kind of playing around that util and making sure that they're stopping that push right before it happens, which I definitely do like. They've gotten way too many fakes coming through
30 seconds
from
left.
ADG, so I feel like now is the time where those adaptations are really starting to hit here.
Yeah. Like a generally good understanding, but again, I think the setup there from Sacred, especially having a bit of a heavier mid presence there from ADG, makes these
10
rotations
seconds left.
for any quick floods that much easier for them to pull off. I think I much prefer that double presence over mid market as opposed to over on that A side of the map. Just allows for much faster pivots across the board. Much needed round here for ADG to bring things closer to a tie. Again, second round since these weapons have come out, and that operator also looking to find the impact that you're looking for here for ADG as well. But EG, they've been so diligent in either avoiding that op into one of their splits or being so keen on clearing it out and making Fluorescent uncomfortable in a lot of those moments.
Oh no. Ion is actually pushed up a bit further this time. But even given that, they did hear some noise. They're not necessarily quite sure what's going to happen here for ADG, so they're just waiting for that response from EG. Are they pushing the A side? Is that plant going down?
Just waiting for that fast blood retake to come in. Drone comes out here for Mikey. Clears out that cyber cage so that flood can come through.
Ooh, and that's unfortunate. Sacred actually does catch out that mistake of waiting a bit too long here. And there's too many players now getting into this retake and moves. Having the op makes it a lot harder to try to fight this. So ADG, I think they figured it out, right? The way to play the game.
And again, some of these retake scenarios is where ADG has really thrived. I feel like it does make sense for them to want to opt into this if they don't feel like confident in some of the more aggressive plays that we've seen out from them because of the utility that Evil Geniuses can react with that KO. And the answer is to go for more of these retakes. Contest whichever area of the map you want to retake from. They maintain that tree control there so the flood can come in so much faster. And one of the few rounds that Gompers, we actually got to see ADG like playing together and fragging together when it came down to those fights, as opposed to these rounds where previously Evil Geniuses were kind of working their way around the map and isolating those players however they like.
Too bad.
Oh gosh, yeah, a lot more cohesion. Moves especially, kind of like knowing that Moves is such a lurker at this point. I mean, I'm sure there's not really too much fear in Ion's mind as to whether or not they're going to be able to take that pick, obviously. Now there is, of course, the Odin making sure the damage is there, but Darkest is pushing themselves in very, very dangerous waters. And Fluorescent's there to fight. Everybody from ADG are here, and they're just not leaving. They're continuing to stay here, allowing this pressure to really put them in. But not only that, Jakey's not even peeking Heaven to make sure some of that space has been cleared. They're kind of just waiting on the site, not allowing that extra hand assistance. And they died. So funneling themselves inside of Tree and then really just taking it, like they just took it.
Just Odin things in a smoke. Apparently, bullets untraceable at times. What are you gonna do? Like, we've all been there in those moments where the Odin is just mowing you down. I do think that there was a world where we could have expected EG to look to evacuate, maybe a little bit tunnel visioned on the kind of split that they wanted to manage there on that A side. I like how ADG also, when that KO isn't being shown right off the gate, they are not getting that same respect that they did previously.
Oh, such a good dash up as well, though, from Ion. And positioning kind of just very different for EG. Instead of going mid, taking that space, they really are looking for something different here. Really willing to take these aggressive fights from B-Dog, but I don't know how, if pushing up that far was really a good say, right? Like, information is being given away at this point, which is great for EG and ADG, but, you know, when it comes to it, Mikey's been very, very detrimental on that Odin. And we have the two weirdest weapons in the game right now standing for ADG, so I do think that they have the upper hand, right? You got the information coming through, unfortunately for Recoil. Actually, not so unfortunate. They got info. They are able to take out the one, but the wraparound up towards Heaven for Fluorescent makes this harder. 7 bullets. Once they reload, they're going to have their location given away. So at this point, they're just going to have to play with what they have. Maybe a drop down to make this work with 7 bullets and a dream. And even then, Recoil clutches up the game for EG to keep things 6-6.
That's a huge 1v2 for Recoil to pick up there for Evil Geniuses Academy, especially after the heroics that we witnessed from Vic. I don't even know how he got the second pick. I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect that to come through on the kill feed. Overall, I think ADG, they managed to make the adjustments that they needed on defense. For those last couple of rounds, they stopped giving Evil Geniuses as much respect as needed, and a lot of it was in response to the lack of presence from that 0 point that was causing them so many issues in the first portion of the initial half that we just saw. And now it's anybody's game. Like, this pistol round really sways how this second half is going to go, especially for Evil Geniuses, who definitely want to get that operator online a little early.
Ooh. Aggressive push outside of B, though, to start things up. Yeah, I'm liking the picks we're seeing. EG, they really did not come here to play on the defensive round. They're like, we're going to get the early info. We're going to make sure we're playing together here and taking this pistol round. Because it really is important, right? EG, they've won the last game. So, in all reality, they cannot lose this round. If they want that lead and they want a pretty flawless victory, this is very important.
Yeah, for their opportunity to try and take it in 2 maps. Meanwhile, ADG want to stay alive for the third. And Ion's trigger discipline is perfect here for 2.
Not even clearing the angle. And that in itself gives a big punishment underway for ADG.
Really nicely done there by ADG. And a huge pistol round to pick up. Both pistols now picked up here on Ascent by Azure Dragon Gaming. I think, you know, it was a cool idea that we saw from Evil Geniuses with a push out through B. A great reaction from ADG. Mikey calling that flood onto the A site after their player lurking at B ends up being punished. Now Evil Geniuses, they offer the stack over at A.
Scanning ahead.
ADG don't even really want to bother with the mains, knowing that something aggressive could be coming to fruition.
Gosh, yeah, this is where it comes in. I'm really just waiting for that to happen. And I like that. Darkest shuts it down. No info for you.
There. Shadows traveling.
And even then, moving themselves over towards mid is going to be a big problem because Darkest, they don't actually know that Darkest is peeking this, but timing is really going to be what makes this count, right? For ADG, they do have like a really big advantage just having these weapons in general. Big workaround over towards mid, though, coming through from Darkest with 2 flashes and a molly, right? So at this point, unfortunately, there for B-Dog, it's not working out the way that they had planned. Yeah, regardless, a flawless round coming through from ADG.
Just the way the cookie crumbles.
If you're not, you're in the wrong line.
ADG itching to take us to Haven, trying to find and muster as much lead as possible. Especially coming in and coming back after the last half, where it felt like Evil Genius had such a good grasp of that map control. It's also the side of the map where, although ADG has found so much success on defense historically, it's where we really want to see that double duelist shine, right? Like Floor and Ion working in tandem on the entries.
Goshing themselves out of the way for Ion, though. I mean, a big support system kind of coming in behind them. And now leaving Recoil alone on site. They don't have a lot to work with here. They can't even really expend some of that utility to give that information away, because it would give their location away and also leave them to their own demise. But upon that entry is a huge round win for ADG.
That is actually crazy. I have to take a beat for a second to kind of digest what just happened here. It was such a quick entry from Ion. And again, the team's so good at closing that gap, following up on that space. But then 3v5 situation, you have guns in hand. That was your buy round for the side of Evil Genius's Academy. And they just opt to jump through the CT smoke. Holding hands?
Yeah.
Question mark?
The power of friendship.
Fortunately, friendship did not prevail today.
They weren't good enough friends. I think that was the the big issue at hand. Yeah.
Gompers doesn't mean that, guys. We're just trolling on the broadcast. Please take that with a grain of salt. We don't mean anything by it, but unfortunately, Moobs is going to be taken out of the equation here. Evil Genius Academy having to now make that mad dash over towards the side recoil, trying to get a little bit more, but not quite able to.
Oh, I thought that might have been a good way for, you know, a pick to kind of come through with Ion overextending, but either way, this is pretty difficult to win. Oh gosh. Yeah, just kind of ending that one off ADG. They've been looking really good. And again, this is their map pick, so there wasn't a doubt in my mind that there would have been an advantage for them at some point. I am just surprised, right? Like, you have a KO. I think the KO should be able to shut down a lot of these entries that we're seeing. I think we're getting maybe a little bit too proactive here on the defense. It's quite odd, but I don't know.
See the adjustment here for Evil Geniuses. I feel like at this point, okay, I was gonna say, I feel like at this point it's time for a timeout, but thank you for answering my prayers. EG, call timeout after losing 4 in a row here on defense. Moobs does finally have the operator online here, though, for Evil Genius's Academy. It does look like he is going to go for that more aggressive peek over towards B main. I want to see that support from the rest of the team, though, ensuring that that camera from Sacred does get just thrown out of the picture right off the gate. Shoot that so, you know, moves can comfortably be posted up. Otherwise, as far as game plans across the rest of the map, we're going to have to wait to see how the rest of the team looks to post up.
Super difficult. Because once ADG put their mind to a site, it is very much... It is difficult, because I do think there's so much forgiveness with Ion playing onto the waylay. But I want to see a bit more from Darkest, you know, playing into their own utility, allowing this team to kind of play off that information that they're receiving. It is quite hard, though, I will say, because then Recoil, you know, has to be able to kind of feed into that and how they're going to be able to use that later on in the rounds.
In control instead here. 4 moves posted up. That barrel is seen. That's a long barrel that is being watched right now.
I actually don't think they saw it originally. That's my,
No, we definitely saw it.
Oh my gosh, ADG, man, and they already instantly took it. So Jakey's out of the way. And here's the thing, we still have 2 flashes left here from Darkest. There's so much potential. In all reality, the only thing this team should be doing is playing with that utility. The Molly has come down to isolate at least some of these angles, but then again, ADG responding, picking these players off left and right, and Moves now losing out on the off here. And the right click does not come through, so EG, they are put down.
11-6 here for ADG. Evil Geniuses, again, still not able to find anything. That's off the back of a timeout that was called here for the squad as well. They change up the setup, try to shift a bit more for that mid control with the operator, the trip for market there as well if Moves has to fall off of the angle. And it all gets caught out, right? Because the second Moves is spotted by that camera from Sacred, I think ADG felt pretty confident that that A site was weak, which is why we saw such like a fast hit coming through.
In theory, they should be able to get one off of the way that they're playing right now. His first contact's going to come through from Recoil, going to give that information away. Hopefully they break it. Yeah, okay, beautiful. But that, yeah, sure, they knew that somebody might have been hiding on the outskirts there. It does seem like at least one is being given away. Fluorescent managing to make things work, and EG, they're trying their absolute best to keep themselves in the game. So at this point, you know, they're really just hoping to get some of these numbers. It's beautiful off B-Dog, and EG, they have somehow recovered with B-Dog alone.
Yeah, and Darkest throwing the craziest flashes that were hitting from CT. Like, that is actually crazy. And Emily was hyping it up so much in the pre-show before this matchup, the B-Dog versus Fluorescent head-to-head, and how it might be us getting to see like OG B-Dog back in the server with how the meta has been, how he's found a little bit more confidence over time with this squad of Evil Geniuses that he has been playing with as well. And I feel like these games, Scompers, has been like the closest to like OG B-Dog Jet that we've gotten in a while stylistically, and how he's able to take over the server here in the past couple. He's been such a hero across Split and Ascent in moments for Evil Geniuses.
Absolutely. Off that play alone, like, that's just insane. And I like the support that we did see them receiving, because I do feel like that had been an issue in previous times where it was like a deer in headlight situation. But look at this, already support coming through from Darkest too, making that pop flash come out, unfortunately flashing themselves. So that could actually be like a leading factor as to ADG potentially running away with this one, but unfortunately Sacred is going to be taken down a little bit too close there with the timing. But with this rotation over towards mid, right, the information given away as to where B-Dog might be repositioning themselves. And now, I mean, not really too much to do. It seems like EG, they know how to respond to this aggression coming up towards mid, and it's up to Ion to potentially just take Moves out and fight the rest. But in this high pressure environment, is it going to work out for them? No, it's not.
Not when you have 3 players holding like a staggered high-low in front of you. It's not gonna. You're asking a lot from Ion in that moment. But dude, honestly, going from round 18 into that round 19, you could feel like a shift in how Evil Geniuses were playing. It feels like during that 18th round where B-Dog got that 4K off the back of the utility from Darkest, things clicked back into place there. For Evil Geniuses Academy, it felt like they were, I think, a little off kilter on defense thus far, not quite able to find their groove, but that play really felt like a changer there for Evil Geniuses. And ADG, they want to put that fire out as soon as possible. They don't actually, they just want to put out the flame. They don't even want it to grow into a fire at this point with the lead that they have, trying to push us to a third map.
Yeah, just having to keep this consistency. Oh gosh, and even looking at it here, right, like Convergent Paths is almost readily available for ADG. I think it really is just the prep to get to Darkest and allowing them to take that null command, kind of really proactively trying to deny anything in the future. Because I think right now, EG, once they win this round, economy's not going to look so great for ADG. I mean, already it seems like Sacred's very poor. So maybe if they can at least pick off something in mid.
Really just 2 rounds. Try and break that economy there for ADG. Really get back into Ascent.
Cage triggered.
Angle here for moves. Over in mid.
Cover going.
Still have a dart there for Mikey.
Yeah, big smoke for prevention too. Oh gosh, moves. Not a lot of damage there. Ion is taken down though by Darkest, so this is a huge opening over in mid. You know, at least they've taken out the one player who has actually been causing a lot of chaos here in regards to trying to get onto the site. Jakey, knowing Vic is always standing just on top of that box, so does catch them out in enough time to make things work. You know, the spike has been now isolated away from this group of ADG.
Flight.
And information coming through. But in due time, maybe Darkest can pop flash their way in. Yup, the timing is perfect, but Fluorescent is even better. Reaction time, actually, giving themselves some time and working together. Beautiful. Fluorescent fully ready for any bad scenario that could have happened, and they were prepared. So now it's up to these 3 players to play this 3v3. Disadvantage now going over to the side of EG, and they're just gonna have to keep getting these picks. Fluorescent fighting for their life
10 seconds
and knowing that they're better.
That plant down here for ADG. Fluorescent could be the one who has single-handedly earned this map point for ADG with those picks, with that entry, divvying up the players on that A site from Tree. All up to Recoil with a plant spot. Honestly, it feels essentially impossible for him to win in this situation. There is not much that he can do other than hoping that ADG will make some grand mistakes.
Oh gosh, Fluorescent jump peek in the angle did scare me. I'm not gonna lie, but even then, like 2 players just jiggle peeking the angle for you. Oh, quite dangerous now, actually. Surprised that Recoil isn't really trying too much to move themselves on the extremities, but either way, I mean, valiant effort coming through from Recoil. ADG played that very, very smart.
Really nicely done there. Match point here for ADG. 1 round to take us to Haven, 4 for Evil Geniuses to take us to an overtime. Funny situation, they'll be able to scrape together a buy since the Blade Storm is available for B-Dog into this round here as well.
1 enemy remains.
Command on top of that. Honestly, considering the buy, the ultimates that are available at Evil Geniuses, they should have a very solid shot at taking this round home.
Already, man, the fight commences. Darkest has not been down yet. I think there's a lot of potential here. Flash is now coming out. Ion does manage to get them down, but the null command is out, right? B-Dog could actually try for something, but I think the aggression was not really... was not needed. And at this point, I mean, in a matter of seconds, ADG taking in the win for this 13-8. You know what? For this being the final time today, I'm just gonna say I'm loving whatever AG are thinking. I don't even know where to start, Ash.
Dude, at this point, I don't care how my prediction goes because I know that we're gonna have a fun map to end our day on. I think that for me, the Darkest Phoenix, bro, this is like...
Yeah.
This is... Okay, dude, hold on. Give me a second. This is like classic... This is a classic Darkest moment where team has their backs against the wall and Darkest goes, don't worry, guys. I goddess. Like, I've seen him pull this stuff playing the Breach on the Phoenix. He's gonna feel even more enabled. I think that this is a great change here for the side of Evil Geniuses Academy. The pace change that they need up against a team like ADG, who have been so quick to react, have a very different kind of like play style. And I think that it's going to blend very nicely to them being able to kind of take those fights to them in that sense there for Evil Geniuses.
It's crazy because we've kind of gotten rid of the general meta of having the Viper, right? The fakes over towards A. They were just like, okay, let's just run with the Clove, which in itself is so incredibly interesting. I mean, Jakey on this map in particular has been absolutely insane. Let's not forget fragging out. So I think this is definitely the best case scenario for EG. Unfortunately, though, the pistol round is not going in favor of them unless Recoil has something to say about it. But regardless, I mean, it's that first round, right? We're kind of settling into this new composition, and it's the pistol. So something could happen.
And it gives you a really good idea of what we're kind of expecting, honestly, with the comp change, just like how generally more brawly of a style that we are assuming that Evil Geniuses is going to be leaning into with this compositional adjustment here. I think, obviously, seeing them now finally leaning into that Phoenix composition as well is definitely huge for the side of Evil Geniuses. I think they're running the Phoenix list comp with the Viper previously, but somehow Darkus has barely taken any damage and is dealing a whole hell of a lot himself with those Marshall shots.
You know, in the last series, we saw a Marshall and 4 sheriffs, but we're just seeing 2 Marshals and 1 sheriff, which could be yeah, very dangerous, guys. I don't know. The sheriffs, the Marshals have been very, very dangerous thus far. Of course, now Spams. I don't know how far that's gonna get us. It seems like it's not necessarily working out, but Darkus, a dream. The pop flash coming through.
Wow.
There is a response coming through from Recoil. Maybe Darkus luring these players in, but
what was that plot armor though? How did he get out?
The main character, it's main character syndrome. It's crazy. 4v4 though, still EG, they're fighting for their lives here, by the way, on a thrifty round, and they still somehow manage to get a majority. So
Spike planted.
I don't know.
No, that round's not supposed to go that way. Like, Darkus is not supposed to live like 2-3 times where he is definitely meant to die. And now Evil Geniuses have this opportunity to like thrifty. I guess I don't know if it'll actually count as a thrifty because of the Marshall. But Floor in a 1v4, that's the player you want.
Oh yeah, I mean, already the crazy shots coming through. I would say the oh my gosh, there's no way. Listen, I know that wasn't a round win, but that was not okay. That was like actually, that was crazy.
No, because you're in a 4v1. Why are we relying on Jakey, who is going for the backstab wrap around B main? That shot on B-Dog was disgusting. Wow. Well, what a round for Evil Geniuses to pick up regardless. B-Dog now has the Outlaw in hand. Everyone on ADG is going to be very vulnerable to that one shot. They're just waiting to see if ADG are going to make any mistakes right now on defense, especially with Darkus just fully sending that run it back here into C.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Brawly, I guess, is really the name of the game, to be honest. Already a 3K coming in, given this team has to save of ADG. But this is amazing. I love the way EG are playing. It is completely different from the pace of play we've been seeing, right? The repetitions, going back and forth, not knowing what to do. The deer in headlight situation, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like they know the only way they can play is literally by winning these fights.
It's a really nice fresh look, I think, from the last 2 maps. And that's not to, you know, take anything away from Evil Geniuses, and you know, they found their success on map 1 of Split. The deadlock comp looks good. Ascent, I think things got definitely tough on that defensive side for them. But this change in tempo, and I think this flexibility when it comes down to how they're maneuvering around the map instead of really relying on these very lurky compositions that they tend to favor. with like the double sentinel or the double smoke, is doing wonders for them up against a team like ADG, where you have such aggressive players like Ion and Floor.
Here.
Difference in positioning here when it comes to the utility. Sacred is seeming like they're not actually even playing with the util either. I mean, the only thing that I guess they could potentially play for is really that trip coming down over towards the edge of that C corner. But Vic does take out moves. ADG having a good advantage.
Spike planted.
Moves taken out as well. It's an opportunity to go for a flank. Not going to opt for it though.
No, just silently waiting for Fluorescent. I wonder. They're kind of just curious if someone else is going to go for it instead. B-Dog, okay, well, we're really just killing it with the Outlaw, to be honest. Doesn't matter what happens. Fluorescent there to respond, but this 3v2v3 now is looking a bit dangerous. The Odin is still readily available for Mighty. Maybe they can pull through with something, but Fluorescent left alive. The only one here, the one that has been pulling through with potential clutches. And the Shock Dart does no damage, but it's a big peek off recoil.
And I think we're seeing just so much more confidence in these fights from Evil Geniuses now on Haven. The way they're taking a couple more measured risks, not, you know, quite as safe as they were playing things on Ascent. Really finding their groove once again here. It was quite the round. It really felt like it could have gone either way with how that post plant was flowing. The retake that was coming in here as well.
One enemy.
Man. Evil Geniuses. They're finding this lead off the back of so much momentum from stealing that second round away.
Already pushing themselves onto the site. I like this. A lot of big distraction over towards A. You can see there's like a really, really big rotation with this pick coming through from B-Dog. 2 of them. It's actually going to force them to feel a lot more pressure. And they backed off entirely from the B site, losing out on Sacred as well. And it's looking pretty difficult, I'm not gonna lie. ADG not knowing how to respond. They thought maybe, you know, playing with the util was gonna work, but it doesn't because you got so many players literally just wrapping themselves around. B-Dog absolutely killing it on the jet.
I feel like I've been transported back to 2022 watching B-Dog today. It's bringing me back. Like, man, B-Dog back in full B-Dog form, honestly. In his duelist roots. ADG though, glass cannon operator here for Fluorescent. Moves has constantly been lurking, putting that pressure here in A main. Able to catch that out. Op will not be revealed.
Oh.
Reaper stacking over at C.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They know how aggressive this team is going to get. So Ion kind of pulling through with that run it back. It does get denied. So unfortunate, but Ion really is fighting for it down in Garage. They know the spike is there. ADG, they're doing everything right. They're shutting things down. That exposure isn't working as well as they thought it would. And it's up to moves now.
On the clock. The Vic's timing honestly could be impeccable here.
Yeah. Oh gosh, and moves actually isn't even understanding it. Yeah, unfortunate, but just the way the cookie crumbles. I like it though. ADG, something different to look at.
I really gotta respect, I think, the information seeking. This was a great play from Ion with the run it back. Just really trying to find out how many players were grouped up in there in Garage. The flashes so potent through the window there as well. Really nicely done. Just cycling right back up into that run it back once again. And that operator, I don't think was even revealed in that last round either. Evil Genius is going for an A split this time around.
Yeah, splitting themselves up. Okay, Darkest for the 3rd time, by the way. I believe the run it back coming back over, but it gives information, right? They see Ion is here. They've actually gotten some sort of sight on Vic too. So 3 players residing on the site now. The big rotation. This is scary. Yep, wraparound coming through from Vic, actually still holding this crosshold, and they're still executing on it, which is questionable. They've seen how many players are there. Yeah, like this should not be the site to push.
Will Jakey be able to do anything here?
One enemy
Is the
remaining.
question. Nope. Shut
Spike
down. Moves.
A.
I mean, Redemption Arc maybe? They were stuck in a 1v4 last time. Can they do it again? Seems like headshots are clicking and hitting. But an ace actually going over to Vic, the holder of the A site.
He's been so impactful across every single map. Again, his growth as a player, man, like, he's been so annoying, honestly. Like, I feel like that's the best way I can put it. Watching him on Ascent and, well, on Split as well, but on Ascent in particular, like, there are times where he's taking some of those upper angles and really just catching Evil Geniuses off guard with some of that positioning and those sprays through the smoke. It's been definitely an annoying style of gameplay, but very well done by
Scanning ahead.
And I know like we're going a bit aggressive here for EG. It's a new type of pace. But I do feel like sometimes it's almost as though they're not quite sure, you know, how to redeem themselves after losing so many players, hoping that the A site looks a bit better this time around.
Yeah, they've swapped the setup though. With that exploration towards mid, you have the Cypher setup here on A now instead.
Oh. I'm assuming they actually know that there is a trip there. Yep, the dash coming forward. And luckily enough, actually having the op watching, there isn't a lot of damage that comes through from that. Actually, yes, there is. Sacred, low enough to the point where, I mean, they're not going to be too much of a concern right now, but the op still, they smoked it off. Unfortunately, Fluorescent's not going to be able to do much on that entry in. But this is good. The post plant has been set up. EG just kind of waiting.
Going up.
Dark is trying to stall as much as possible with his utility here in CT.
Yeah, just spamming it through. Maybe they can get Fluorescent down. Fluorescent is not posing too much of a threat, especially with the damage that's been put forth. And they know they're gonna have to come through this choke point. How is it gonna work out? Ion doesn't have any flashes. It's really up to Vic to hit these shots, and there it is. EG holding it down for another win.
And a lot of that thanks to the time that was bought there by Darkus. You have him cycling those flashes into the owl drone so it can't get the information, can't get that tag off, ensures that it gets destroyed while blind. Then you have the blaze wall going in, another flash going in, just continuously trying to delay that push back through, especially after that off sight line was lost there by B-Dog thanks to the cage, just to provide that additional cover so he could look to reposition. It was Darkus for the stall there, which was really nicely done, and the rest of the team doing a great job following up on the trade.
I know
Playing a partnership type of game. I do like a slower approach here. I mean, they've pretty much conditioned this team to feel like they need early info. So taking out Fake is going to be huge.
It's changing things up from the conditioning that they had done. That's the first time I think we've seen them walk through the cyber cage over in a lobby, just completely catching Vic off guard.
Watch your eyes.
Oh, there it goes. Oh!
That's a rare miss from Flora.
Yeah, that looked honestly like, that's another rare miss from Flora. I don't know what's going on right now, but it seems like the timing really did offset Fluorescent. And now she's pushed all the way back over towards Elbow. It's become an awkward situation where, you know, they're trying to peek out and get this pick that they so desperately need, but B-Dog is waiting for them, just sitting inside of Garage. And this is where it becomes hard, right? The information's gonna come through. Sacred's gonna be able to identify where these players are, but it's a 2v3. B-Dog still has the operator. Mikey's still waiting to see if this team is going to push them out into the extremities, but B-Dog is there waiting for this pick to come through. All they need is one. The damage through the wall has been made, and it's really just over for them. ADG, they lose out again on an opportunity for a win.
Evil Geniuses hitting their stride here on the attacking side. ADG, they managed to get 2 rounds during the 6th and the 7th, but is still not able to do much more off the back of that. Now though, just taking a look at the general like ultimate economy, that last round with the foresight that we saw coming through there for ADG means that their pockets will continue to be hurting for a while. I feel like they're giving them too much respect, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the lines that Floor is holding with the operator are so passive right now. And we do see some contention for that A main control. But other than that, like some of that like very light bricks control, they were previously playing that pretty passive as well when moves was looking to lurk as well. So it's kind of tough to say because I feel like we've seen those rounds gompers where we've seen like the walks out towards mid, you get a little bit of information, but again, the respect of looking to fall back, try to be a little bit more disciplined. But when it comes down to a lot of these rounds too, they're just getting overwhelmed on these sites right now from EG.
Yeah, I mean, you play 2 games of this play style that EG have been repetitively giving you, and all of a sudden it's explosive. So it's so weird. It's like now you have to readjust to almost an entirely new team. B-Dog's absolutely killing it on the Jet.
Yeah,
it's
he's
difficult.
having a crazy series.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like genuinely, even though the KD looks crazy right now, but in some of the other matches, the KD wasn't anything like absolutely out of this world mind blowing, but the impact of those frags when he was getting those multi kills, like the heroics that he was pulling off in those moments, that is where it really felt like he was like taking over the server in those rounds. And now fully warmed up into a haven where he's been a raid boss so far for Evil Geniuses. For you guys back home though, we do have a mini little pause. We do have a coach PC crash, so we'll hopefully get the bait game back and going for you guys. But man, Gumps, this is a fun map to be ending off Swiss stage on.
Oh my gosh, the energy is high. I really wondered, like, was this a pre-planned thing for EG? Because it's so different from the dynamic that we've seen so many times before. They used to run such a normal comp here of like the Viper and whatnot. So it is feeling like, you know, if this was a last second play coming through from the coach, I'm wondering if they saw just the strengths of each and every player in the previous games. I don't know, up for discussion for sure, but we're back into it. Ion there with the opening pick. Of course, being able to pick up a Vandal is going to be huge here for ADG.
Yeah, just dancing around those bullets really quick. Evil Geniuses. It's contact play.
Oh, and huge though, ADG, even though it is kind of a save round here, they're playing brilliantly with their utility and playing around it as well. So a thrifty round. We also still have so many ultimates now on the board.
That was such a good call from ADG too. Like Mikey being able to call that for the team after Ion gets that pick with I think it was a class. Was he using a classic in that round? Either way, being able to get the pick with the pistol and then picking up the Phantom afterwards and going for a 3-person swing into A main, that was really unlucky timing, honestly, for Darkest, but a really nice call, I think, from the defense and just re-clearing, retaking those spaces in the way that we kind of wanted to see from them, right? Again, not giving up too much for free, not giving them a little too much respect there.
Come on, let's go!
Oh, and that's what we, like you said, ADG respecting them a bit too much. It feels like now they've realized, you know, guys, we're not that bad. We can actually fight these fights and win. We've seen Fluorescent get crazy headshots, right, with the Sheriff in a 1v4. This is the team to be worried about, ADG, not the other way around. So I'm liking the proactivity coming outside of the B site, really trying to get some of these picks.
Yeah, good adjustments. This is kind of reminiscent of like what we saw on our first map with Split as well. It just taking quite a while for the changes to come in and the reads to come through, right? But things are still getting scrappy here in mid. Neither team really wanting to leave this space.
Yeah, over time actually separating themselves too. So I think there's a pattern. You know, we're starting to see ADG realize EG don't know how to respond to an aggressive defense. So keeping it over towards the A site. This is where the strengths of EG lie, though, is playing into this post-plant scenario. One more until Jakey can actually get that resurrection. So looking for that is going to be huge.
Yeah, I really want to get that not dead yet up online. Recoil is going to shoot out the camera. Floor going to get posted with the operator here. Blades will come out instead.
No, this is scary. I think Floor is the only thing that really is worrying me here. Seems like Jakey does actually get that not dead yet. This is huge. They're proactively running it down, knowing that they are the win condition in this very moment. The overhealed is there. They know that if they fight Vic, it's going to be a win. I mean, 7 health left. Not too much to worry about. So this is a very, very good round coming through from EG.
Yeah, it's a nice hold into that post plant there from Evil Geniuses, especially being down in numbers. Good crossfires were set up there on that A site. And it's just unfortunate. I think timing
Last round
just
before the
wasn't quite
switch.
right there for ADG. Fluorescent was quite early on the retake, and they're still also waiting for Vic to come in on that flank. Last round before you swap sides, though. We're going to have ADG, again, posted up with a very similar setup that we see round for round. Operator, instead of playing over towards that deep C line that we've seen for her historically taking thus far in the map, she will shift
Yeah.
into that sewers position instead.
There is
a
a
more passive position. Like, they don't have any A info right now.
Yeah. Kind of good, though. I mean, Jakey does have a bit of forgiveness here with the not dead yet. Obviously not wanting to use it too early on,
Spike
but
planted.
still proactively looking for a pick, feeling as though there is a bit more they could play for as they do start to move themselves out where the not dead yet comes through. They know all they need is a bit of time to slowly work themselves around, potentially looking for a second, but Mikey, he takes that pick. Now there's a bit more leeway here. This 3v4 with, of course, Darkest trying to find these picks, but Vic has been insane with the aim as of recent, and all they need is that smoke, is that hold from Fluorescent on the outskirts, the second smoke that they do still have to really keep things at bay. And as these peaks come through, the defusal is there. Nobody looking for any way to stop it.
I don't even understand what ends up going on in that round. Like, you are fully reliant on Jakey getting another pick in A main or just posing enough of a threat that ADG don't want to retake right away. But Jakey dies and nobody else is on site. Nobody else is holding the flood back. They have Vic up. You have those smokes to work with for that defuse. And unfortunately, being a bit aggressive there for Darkest isn't even able to like throw a molly onto that spike either to deny that defuse. Swapping sides now and kind of refocusing onto ADG being on that attacking side first. They're going to be looking to split over towards A. Evil Geniuses, though, want that aggressive peek in sewers.
Yeah. And the peak, oh, it's unfortunate, B-Dog. It was a good time for them to kind of crunch that. But ADG, okay, they're looking better. They haven't lost anyone so early on in this pistol. You know, they have info as to where B-Dog is, and they know that he's not there alone. I mean, I feel like that's pretty much a given.
How they leave the player low HP to be that lurker, and Floor gets away with one.
Which is going to be huge. And the Floor likes that momentum. So, you know, once you get it, you can't really stop it. Here it is, too, though, already trying to keep the sight under wraps. Ion has completely closed the angle that Moves is trying to fight for in the pistol round. It's looking even better than before. They are flawless on the attack. Now, I mean, they can really up that double duelist ante, and they're comfortable.
They definitely are. It is honestly just crazy, though, how... not just like how ADG are recovering into this, but because I feel like it's been pretty close after, you know, round 6 and whatnot. It's been back and forth. But it's crazy how close this map is. And to be honest, a lot of it for Evil Geniuses is, yo, B-Dog's got the backpack on right now. I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Like, B-Dog is crushing it at the moment. We are seeing impactful kills from, you know, some of the other players, but without this performance that he's putting on right now, this is a very sprint map here. And ADG just look a little bit more composed.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I felt like, though, a little easier to kind of give B-Dog the help and assistance they need to frag out on the attack. I'm hoping that we still give that attention over towards B-Dog as we kind of continue over to the defense, because I think just utilizing this player in general is going to be huge now. Though, with Sheriff and some patience, I really hope they do not move, because this is such good positioning on there, and taking out two to start off. This is huge.
That second one on Ion was nice. Biting off a little more than he can chew, though. We're equalized in a 3v3.
Ah, damage. The damage is huge. And it's unfortunate because everybody downed is on site, so it's not like EG can really just walk on and, you know,
Spike
grab
planted.
some extra weapons here. Actually, walk on they will. Seems like that wall is going to do a lot of dirty work and moves, just waiting for it to disappear so they can at least get a pick. The Bulldog handed over, and this is big, but they miss, and it's unfortunate.
No, that's a crazy retake. That is a crazy retake here for Evil Geniuses. Nah, okay, Moves, I see you. He just Fortnite emoted on them.
Oh my gosh.
We're emoting right now with the finishers. But that smoke along, like that smoke going down from Jakey to be able to walk out onto site was so well done there by Evil Geniuses. And
Wow.
That goes
they did
there.
such a good job of just like swarming around those players on site there. Oh, man, you really couldn't do too much there if you're
No.
Vic, because you're trying to look in every single direction.
Oh, this
Oh,
is a nice
wow.
spot.
That was just like impressive, to be honest. I think that the separation of the wall that Darkest had put was crazy.
This divvies up so much space.
Yeah, and divvy up they will. They're actually feeling pretty confident moving forward. Just looking to try to get themselves back onto the B site here, especially with Vegas just literally sitting there. So if Ion can slowly work themselves up and allow them some space to get out of there, that's going to be good. Yep. Already moved themselves over towards Garage. But this is the thing. There's so much util that we have standing for moves on the C site. So not only are we going to have to fight Garage and try to take out EG, Darkest is making the damage happen. And they've already lost 2 lives. So Spike is again sitting in an awkward position. Unable to really know what to do or what is going on. Information down in mid has been taken away as well. And it just becomes even harder for them to redeem themselves. So for ADG, you know, it really is just up to them to take the loss and kind of move on.
The lurk smoke out there here for Vic, but too aware with it, especially with that trip that has an eye on that front end of the smoke. They know he's
30
stuck.
seconds left.
Gosh. Like he's completely sardine canned in from the team.
Flawless.
Oh,
Weapon here.
flawless. I like it. I feel like we're getting a lot of those from EG lately.
We've been getting a lot of flawlesses from both teams.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the rounds
Flawless.
are not like no contest, not that close for
Yeah.
either side. It's like we see the really one-sided rounds, and then we have a few like very close rounds between both teams sprinkled in. But the rounds often feel very momentum heavy. Timeout now, called by ADG
Oh,
after Evil Geniuses took away that anti-eco from them. One out on that thrifty. Really shifted things as far as the economy here for ADG, of course. You also have a run it back online into this round as well, which I'm sure is part of the conversation here for ADG. What they're kind of expecting, what they want to plan to do themselves, since Ion's just 2 away from his.
yeah.
We'll see if they go shopping for some more.
Question is, like, how do you readjust to this, what EG are kind of putting out? Because I mean, I guess you could beg the question, like, they just have so much util to take onto site. Could we play the post plant now? I do feel like the aggression we're
This is
seeing
a nice
on the
spot.
defensive side is working out fairly well. It's just hard because it's a give or take, right? Is
This goes
EG going to
deep.
get a really good
This
pick
should
coming
go.
through from B-Dog, right? 21-9, or is there going to be something coming through from Vic this time?
Is that obstacle?
Have to wait and see. Camera already dealt with there, so Sacred isn't going to get that peek into Garage that he's looking for.
Yeah, playing a bit more patient. Actually kind of liking this one, the information. They're just playing a reactive game right now, right? Nobody up towards C long, so the information given away in mid kind of makes EG have a slight rotation today. They're switching sides.
I like this. You have Vic who's trying to lurk. He has been found out though. But Sacred being in this inserted position in Garage could absolutely change the game plan. And it will be a shift to that C side after Vic's position was revealed on the A side of the map. is just B-Dog alone alongside a Trip and a Camera, with moves playing so far back into spawn at the moment.
The last time we saw B-Dog in this position, they didn't clear him. B-Dog was able to get an astounding 2. And I think right here in this position, it's going to work out well because they don't necessarily clear the backside. I mean, luckily enough, finally they will. So this, I guess all in all, it works out. They were proactive. They kind of kept it in their mind this time around as to their mistakes previously. But Darkus pushing in a bit too early, not having that assistance to really make it work. And with Fluorescent taken down and everybody else peeking, Vic is keeping the site. But this is it, right? Darkus alone to try to fight things off. But AG, they can't do it alone. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Vic has constantly been a problem, but Gompers, it's tough. We haven't really seen like the same kind of value out of the run it backs from Darkus as we have Ion throughout this map of Haven, unfortunately. His flashes, those mollies, the walls have been really great, though. I think a very good display of, you know, that supportive nature that Darkus does have. Like, the utility has been stellar to assist his team, but in moments like that, those firefights going the way of ADG, something that it has been reminiscent of previous maps there as well. It feels like they're typically a little bit quicker on those trades.
Yeah.
Spike planted.
Kind of like playing hand in hand. And I do kind of, I like their positioning when it does come to these post plans, because Vic is very creative with the way they like to play with their team. I feel like that's why we do tend to see a lot of the time Vic is getting those trades.
Cage triggered.
Vic's impact has been absolutely palpable, but this flash out of the smoke, perfect for moves.
Yeah, looking beautiful. EG, they pop out, they know how to play together, and I'm liking this. Mikey's really just trying to stall for some of that time and make sure nobody is on that spike, but the damage has been made. You do still have Fluorescent alive. Now Mikey trying to make sure that the diffusal's not gonna come through, but in due time, it will.
You know what? EG get their get back from the last half. They get to clap back and do it right to them as well. So big W there for Evil Geniuses. Really tough for the side of ADG, but the retake through that garage position was just really well played there, I think, by Moobs and Darkus using those flashes. Like, dude, how often do you see a Phoenix player with 18 assists? Let's be so honest right now, because normally when they're ripping the flashes, the Phoenix is typically just gonna go and get the kills anyways.
Yeah. Oh no,
but
for them, Phoenix's breach, it really does feel like at this point, they needed flashes, but they were also like, I don't really want someone who isn't gonna dive comp with us. So I like it, I like it.
And it's like, that's also not any shade to Dark. It's not like we're saying, okay, yeah, like Darkus is not frying or whatever. We absolutely know that Darkus can fry in the server, but it's just that style. Oh, I don't like it.
No.
Don't like it. That was really awkward. B-Dog gets caught out. Nobody was there to help him either.
And now there's a move. Darkus is feeling pretty confident. Okay. EG are not really playing around, it seems. And that being said, there's no really potential for them to play around, right? They have 2 ultimates on the board. They could completely clutch up the round. And now, Jakey, just one more left. Even with a death, they're going to be able to have their resurrection, right? That very, very big, important step to the next round for EG. I mean, 11-7, dude, and it's getting harder every round.
And the ult economy is really healthy for EG as well. Sure, ADG, you can argue, yeah, they've cycled into some solid ult. The main one that you're looking at is going to be that run it back for Ion, as well as the knives here, the Blade Storm here for Fluorescent, and how ace she is with that equal ultimate. But when it comes down to actual like control on the map, like Evil Geniuses, they can pair that run it back and the Hunter's Fury together for a huge combo of success. We'll see if that does come up. The Dark is getting aggro right away.
Darkus also has to run it back though. They're not even using it. It's like there's so much trust in B-Dog being able to just trade. It's crazy that they don't care about what they were using. It's like, okay, run it back is there. We're just gonna use each other at this point. Ion now. I mean, trying their best to really get things back. Jakey, unfortunately, so bringing their ultimate in the wrong time. So this is huge. ADG, you know, they've taken out a pretty huge majority of this team. Fluorescence playing a game that is deadly, and so is Ion. So these two duelists now are really fighting it back.
They really are. Man, ADG, they get the round on the board. But that clapback, it was such a scrappy back and forth between both of these teams. Again, hey, I called it out. I mean, even though I was like, we know that Darkest can shoot back. He's just playing like a very supportive style. And the second I say that, 2 seconds later, he's gonna go get that 2K. The ADG, I think, honestly, again, insane heroics from the entire team. In those moments, they react so quickly. That's what.
Ooh. Okay, no, this is not safe. B-Dog jump peeking to see where they need to aim, which first of all is crazy work. Like a new tech that I didn't even know we would be pulling here.
Slowing things down now.
Oh gosh. Timing is important too. And I like that, kind of offsetting. You know, seeing it's been a while. Maybe I should play for something weird here. And I'm the creativity coming through from EG with this comp for sure. B-Dog slowly working themselves to see what's going on in Garage and actually playing with this trip. So the moment that comes down, they're going to try to rush B-Dog. It gives some way to whoever's playing on the extremities of Garage to play alongside B-Dog and make sure that everything is fine. But a third one to come through and moves there to make sure EG stay in the game. Guys, this is not good. If EG win, ADG is out.
Yeah, but if EG win, EG is in.
EG is in.
So I guess, I mean, it's not good depending on who you're rooting for, if we're going to be honest. Who are you for again, Numbers?
I voted for EG.
Okay, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. We are not enemies today. But yeah, that was.
I think all day today, actually. We've been on the same team.
Okay, dap me up. Dap me up. That's what I want to hear. But man, timeout now to be called here by ADG. 4 rounds to try and take it to that overtime, but Evil Geniuses, just a quick adjustment in that last round. I think we saw some really cool plays being pulled out there as well, with some of the aggression that was coming through and some of those bait plays that were coming in as on top of that. Generally just very nicely done here, ADG. This is a tough one to go into, I think, on the last round with a really broken bye.
Oh gosh. I like the way B-Dog is playing there. It's so weird, so quirky.
This goes here.
B-Dog forever. I'm feeling like a fangirl right now.
Like, why do I feel like you're gonna pull up to the next Challengers broadcast with that on a shirt? B-Dog. With like the PNG from his player submitted profile. But anyways, okay, let's walk back in. Gummers, we're walking back in for this potential last round of this match.
This is crazy. This could be it, but I don't know. I trust in ADG. We've been seeing some crazy stuff, and I do think some people fall under pressure, but pressure is there for ADG. And EG, they're applying themselves even more in seconds. A round win in seconds for Evil Geniuses to move on and leave behind ADG.